Great. So this is just a brief presentation on my master's thesis and the paper that was just published. I won't go too far in depth, and it's a lot of sharing um, why the pigeon guillemots here are so special and so amazing. To start off, I just wanted to show some photos and a video that I took today. I don't know if anyone's been able to get out to the Farallones before, but this is our Mer colony, and I was watching pigeon guillemots bring in food this morning, and hopefully this video can play. And they were just being very cute, and I just really wanted to share that with you guys. Oh, there we go. Okay, so going back to the study, on the Farallones, we do a lot of tracking projects, and we've done work on rhinoceros, auklets, common murres, and western gulls. And the final missing piece of this puzzle was pigeon guillemots. And we have been doing diet watch studies since the early 60s. So we know what they're eating, juvenile rockfish, juvenile sculpins, and krill, amongst other smaller prey types. And we really wanted to know where, amongst this big puzzle of seabirds on the Farallones, where are the pigeon guillemots foraging? So that was our main motivation. And we also wanted to be able to line up these prey observations we were having with the GPS um, coordinates that we were getting from devices. So for the field methods, on the Farallones, we have really big rocky hills, so we climb around every 5 days looking for pigeon guillemot sites from our historically monitored sites. On the left here, you could see a research assistant climbing up and scaling the walls, and this is pretty much what the typical pigeon guillemot nest on the Farallones look like. And we also have around 30 or so nest boxes that they occupy, and this is what they look like when they lay their eggs and hang out in front of their sites. But they prefer the rocky crevices over the nest boxes. And then we just started getting chicks. We banded our first mostly feathered chick today, so that was really exciting. They all are doing well. Chick two, not so well, but chick one is, they're thriving. They're doing great. Okay, so data collection for my project. So first we wanted to identify adults that have laid 2 eggs for GPS deployment and then monitor those sites until chick hatch. So we were aiming for chicks that were 0 to 5 days old. This is when the parents are the most attentive. Then we would deploy GPS. We would use either noose mats in front of the crevices in the morning when they were feeding to catch the adults, or at night if they were brooding their chicks. So we use PathTrack GPS plus TDRs, and these were awesome because they offloaded directly to a base station, so we didn't have to bother the chicks for retrievals. We could just deploy the devices and hope that they offloaded their data to the base station. So that was really awesome for our project. And then we let the tags sit on the birds for 7 days, and during those 7 days, I did diet watches. And then, of course, we always monitored the chicks and tried to retrieve the tags because they are expensive. Here's some methods of our tag deployments. Pretty standard. The left image, this is really helpful, a template. It keeps the feathers out of the way. So the main prey types we see here on the Farallones are sculpins, rockfish, flatfish, and gunnels. The 2 years that I conducted this study, the main prey types were sculpin and rockfish. So for my analysis, I wanted to focus mainly on those two prey types. So for the results, this is where the pigus went in 2023 and 2024. We were not surprised that they weren't going very far based off of the diet observations since the 60s, but we were super shocked to see a few individuals go all the way to the mainland. The one track on the left that went all the way up to Point Reyes, that was 120 kilometers round trip. That's a lot for a little goo. So we were like, "Are you okay? Are you abandoning?" But he came back and was provisioning as usual. And then, even more surprised, in 2024, we had, I think it was 3 individuals that went to Drake's Beach in Point Reyes. So pretty far for a pigu during the chick rearing period. We don't really know why. We have some theories, but good for them. We were also really impressed with their diving behavior. It wasn't believed that pigeon guillemots can dive very deep since they are just foraging very close to the island. But the max depth that they recorded was 54 meters with a max duration of close to 3 minutes. So again, very impressive for the little pigu. So this is how I was able to line up prey observations with the GPS data. So I used hidden Markov models to identify the last known foraging location before they beelined right back to the island. And with the tags that also had time depth recorders, I could look at the last dive within that foraging trip and line it up that way as well. So here, each point here is a dive, and it was really clear in the data lining it up that the last dive they went right back to the island, and they went pretty quickly, and they didn't make any other trips or anything like that. So after doing that with every single bird and every prey observation, I was able to make a kind of heat map of where different prey items were being caught. We didn't really see that much significance here, but we do notice that there are changes in the prey environment around the Farallones, shifts from foraging on the west side of the island versus in 2024, there might have been a rockfish cluster on the east side of the island, or other way around. But the really cool part of this study, which we were shocked because we assume that seabirds, there's not that much sexual dimorphism. Pigeon guillemot females and males, they don't weigh differently. There's not that much difference in their morphometrics. So we were shocked to see that females were putting in the work. They were traveling further. Their max mean dive depth increased during the day. Total trip duration increased, and their time spent traveling. So overall, the females were doing more, and we have some thoughts onto why, but we need to do a bit more digging and work with that. So again, we had clear sex-specific differences in their foraging effort and their diving behavior. Prey shifted around the island between years, and we do see that pigus have a behavioral flexibility, and this could be because males and females have to meet different energetic costs and different parental roles. Um, Future studies, we want to investigate how all of the seabirds on the Farallones are able to forage successfully together at the same time. Murres and rhinoceros auklets all forage on juvenile rockfish, yet they go to very drastic different areas. We also, I think I talked with Shannon about this, pigeon guillemots on the Farallones migrate all the way up to British Columbia during the winter, and that's really weird. And people in British Columbia put GLS out, and their birds stayed. So a future project would be going up to Alaska and seeing where those birds that are nesting maybe a naked island are migrating to as well. And my acknowledgments, and I just am so thankful for all the Pigu love that I feel. That's the end of my presentation, and I would love to chat about pigeon guillemots now.
Great. Thank you so much. I think I could probably speak for everyone when I say we're all very jealous that
Yes.
you get to do this work. And thank you so much for including those photos of the chicks from and the video from today. That's just really awesome to see that.
Yeah.
Really interesting study. I'm going to open it up to the others for questions first. I have a few myself, but I wanted to see if anyone else had any questions for Stella. Brenda.
Hi, Stella. I'm wondering if you guys have any theories about why the resource partitioning between the genders would even exist.
You cut out a little bit for me.
I'll rephrase it. Um, so why do you guys think that the males and females put in a different amount of effort?
I think, and something that Mike Johns is also kind of thinking, is that so pigus, as we know, are weird. They lay two eggs. So potentially the females might be investing more during incubation and spending more time incubating compared to the males. And then during chick provisioning, maybe the females have to spend more time provisioning themselves. So they're going to deeper waters, potentially to get better quality prey. And then they're just picking one up on the way back to feed their chicks.
Hmm, interesting.
A thought.
Yeah, that's
Good
an
thought.
interesting idea. Francis?
Good thought.
I have kind of a follow-up question to that. Thank you so much for the presentation. We all love any tidbits of information about Paigus, so thanks a lot for being here with us. You indicated that they went deeper and farther, as I remember, but did you monitor the number of prey deliveries to the burrows in regards to male and female?
We did, and there wasn't a significant difference between number of prey deliveries, which is also interesting that the females are further, but they're still able to keep up. I think another problem, I wouldn't say problem, is we only do diet watch in the morning. So we're missing any activity that's happening later in the day past noon, and they do pick up after like at 2 or 3 around on the Farallones. So we don't really know what kind of activity is going on there. In the data, in like the movement data, we see them returning to the island, but I have no idea if they were bringing back fish.
Right. Okay. Well, those females are just working harder, it sounds like, to do the
They're doing
same amount of
something.
division. Thank you.
And Fiona has a question. How did you determine the sex of the pig ewes with very little difference in weight?
We did molecular sexing, so took
Ah,
small blood sample and sent it to a lab.
oh, interesting. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
Lee, did you have a question?
I did. And thank you, Stella. That was really outstanding. The trips to Point Reyes, which
Mhm.
seems odd, because unless they could get different prey there, do you think they could? Were they getting different fish?
So we don't know what fish they were doing, but from the hidden Markov model, I do know that they were actively foraging on the coast by Point Reyes. A
Mhm.
thought that we might have is that's where the Murs go, and the Murs tend to forage on the big anchovy along the coast, and that's where larger anchovy are found. So we think maybe they're just trying to self-provision on bigger fish for
Mhm.
themselves. But yeah, that is something we were like, what do you guys, do you guys have another family over there? Like, what is going on? Why would a pea fly that far?
That's a long way. Gourmet Guillemots.
They
Yes.
were inspired. I'm
Thank
curious,
you.
how long does it take them to make that trip when they go 120 kilometers?
That was like, if I'm rounding up, like a full 48 hours.
Wow.
I
Okay.
didn't see that bird and I was like, where the heck? Like, I'm so confused. Where did you go? And like, I took the base station back and like, no data came up. And then finally I saw it return. I'm like, where have you been?
Oh my goodness. So hopefully the other parent was closer by and feeding the chicks
Yeah.
during that 48 hours.
Like, did you get into a fight? What happened?
Oh my goodness. And then how do you differentiate if the parent, or is there even a way to differentiate if they're just foraging for themselves versus for the chick? Are you able to measure that time between?
We don't really know because they do take a bunch of dives and a bunch of foraging trips before the last one when
Hmm.
that's the one that they're bringing back to their chick. I've never seen a pigu eat a fish. Assume that they eat underwater. That's what Mike Johns was telling me. So we're assuming that all those dives before the one for the chick and those
Mhm.
foraging events, they're feeding themselves.
Okay.
But we can't really tell, and I wish that we could.
Yeah. Let's see, what else did I have here? Oh, I think somebody already asked the question about the number of visits. Let's see, I had a few more here too. Did we have any others with the group? Oh, yep, I see Blythe has a question. In terms of the female, are there higher calcium or other essential fatty acids to reprovision in the anchovies and oilier fish?
That's a good question. Um, I would assume that the anchovies are have a higher calorie and higher nutrition than the small itty bitty rockfish that they're bringing in. But we don't know for sure if they even are eating the anchovies by the coast.
Mm-hmm.
They are starting to bring in this year like super tiny anchovies, like that look like young of year rockfish. All the birds are bringing them in, and it ha probably has something to do with the marine heat wave, but excited to look at chick growth with that.
That's
Right.
so interesting. May I ask us a follow-up question, Stella?
Yeah.
Um, I've been doing some like reading of papers on marbled murrelets, and there's some really interesting studies that are looking at like them doing like overnight foraging because of the like upwelling that happens with like certain like deeper ocean fishes that like come closer for them to access. So I was kind of like, as you were speaking about the birds being gone, the guillemots being gone for like so long, I was wondering whether like maybe they're accessing those like fishes that come up in the nighttime. Just a thought to throw out there.
Well, they like could be, I think, something that we ran into. We assume that at night the pigeon guillemots are just like roosting on land or brooding their chick. So in order to save battery on the tags, we had them turn off from like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. So we are missing this nighttime window in our study. So we don't really know what they are doing at night, because it's out of the assumption that they're just hanging out on
Yeah,
land. But
that would be interesting to know. A lot
yeah,
of people ask, what do they do at night?
I'm
Are
like,
they
well, I find
sleeping?
them in their sites, and then the chick gets old, and then I don't find them. So
Uh, let's see. And then speaking of that heat blob that's coming, I know a lot of us are concerned about what that's going to do to prey abundance. And are you guys sort of bracing for that on the Farallones, or do you expect to see major
well,
changes in their prey?
we've already with egg laying, the common murres and the pigeon guillemots were like historically late. I think the second latest
Hmm.
or the latest egg laying recorded was in the 80s, like 1984 or something, and we were like almost about to beat it with the murres and the pigus. So they were already late to egg laying. Every chick is everything's hatching and the birds are looking healthy. The Cassin's auklets have started to fledge already, and the rhino chicks are getting fat. Um, we are just getting into the myrrh diet and pigu diet. So we'll see if things shift, but we are worried that things might not line up for them.
Right. And I know in your study you found, I think 1 year rockfish was in a different proportion. Were you
Yeah.
able to link that with any environmental factors at all?
Not yet, but I think a new paper that Mike and I are thinking about writing is looking at all the historical diet observations and chick growth, and then trying to link in environmental impacts,
Mhm.
which would be cool.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
I hope everything goes well. The corms are doing well, which is surprising.
That's
Um,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, good to hear. Are there, oh, Francis, go ahead.
There we go. Sorry. Um, you mentioned that you had nest boxes. I ask everybody I can talk to about this question. Um, we're looking for a nest box setup that is pigeon proof or discourages the pigeons from trying to co or take over the boxes. Are your boxes at all pigeon proof?
Well, we're lucky that the only pigeon we have are the Guillemots on the Farallones. The one problem we have is the Western gulls really like
Mm.
to like nest near them or hang out in front and wait for the parents to come in and steal their food. And the seals actually just kicked a box off of a cliff, which was not very nice. But we do not need to pigeon-proof our boxes. I wonder
You're
how you would do
lucky.
that.
You're lucky.
That sounds complicated.
Let's see. Fiona says, you mentioned the study in BC that did tracking of PIGU. Do you know the name of the paper?
I don't think it's out yet. I just know that they've been like they mentioned that they put out GLS and they're like our Pigu stayed. And I think they're writing it up now. And then that's kind of what triggered potentially working with Sarah Converse to look
Mhm.
at what the Alaskan Pigus are doing.
Right. Yeah, that's another question that I get asked all the time. People wanting to know where our guillemots go in the winter.
Mhm.
We know that there are certainly a lot that are still in Puget Sound in the wintertime. They're just not up next to their colony bluffs, but we don't know for sure. We can't say for sure without tagging them if they're moving around or what to what extent. So that would be interesting to see that BC study for sure.
Be really cool.
Yeah. I like to believe they stick around here because they like it.
Because yeah, the
But
Farallon birds are missing out. So they're like, we have to come up.
yeah.
Yeah, just following up on that question, thank you so much for your presentation. Which organization is doing that particular work that you're mentioning?
Well, the workout here is with Point Blue Conservation Science, and right now, no one is looking, no one has funded GLS tracking work up in Alaska or in Washington yet.
Yeah, okay, cool. But then the one that you mentioned, sorry, just trying to understand the one that you mentioned in British Columbia, like which organization is
Oh, that was like
putting
the
that paper out?
British Columbia government,
Oh,
like the
okay.
Oh,
Canadian Gov.
Interesting. Okay.
okay.
Cool. Yeah, I'll keep my eyes out for that paper. I'm just really curious to know what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
We'll have
so
to ask
much.
Remy.
yeah, because
Remy
I
might know.
mentioned I know someone who wrote this ancient Merlet paper that was looking at something similar. Like they did similar methods up in Haida Gwaii, and she was my contact, and she works for the Canadians. And she just emailed me a few months ago, and she's like, "Our pigus don't do anything. They stay with your pigus here," which is like so. Like I want to know what's going on.
Was that at
Totally.
Last Peak Bay, the study
I think
on
so.
Hawaii? Yeah.
Yeah, all the pigus are going like up to Haida Gwaii to hang out.
I don't blame them. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I really appreciate it.